Welcome to the Real Business Lifetime Lessons podcast, where Carolina business leaders get real about growth, grit, and leadership. Today, we're joined by Chris Hawkes, the founder and managing partner of Spirits of Alchemy in Charlotte, North Carolina. With more than 2 decades of experience leading national sales teams for major brands, Chris made the bold leap into entrepreneurship to build something deeply personal and community driven. In this conversation, he opens up about the pain and power of starting over, what leadership really means, and how relationship currency fuels lasting growth. Chris, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Greatly appreciated.
Thank you for being here. You've had a long and successful career in corporate sales leadership. What finally pushed you to leap into entrepreneurship?
Yes, there's a specific moment I remember clearly. It was actually my wife's 40th birthday. And going into that, my best friend, now business partner, we were in the entertainment piece. Obviously, this is related to cocktails, zero proof mocktails. And putting that party together, we did a lot of back end research to execute a beautiful beverage menu. In that execution, we had already been doing some of our own syrups and seeing that we could create a really cool experience with things we were doing for an audience at large, which was very unsuspecting. They didn't know what we'd be doing, infusing, barrel aging, using our own syrups. Audience recognition was awesome. They totally got what we were doing. And then overlap, as you said, with this corporate experience, it was, I think, we could make these syrups into something bigger than what we're doing. And so that was the inkling. You could zoom ahead to when Coca-Cola purchases us. And in that gap of time, we connected a lot of dots, which was, could we do this? Should we do this? When can we do this? So when Coca-Cola makes that purchase, the culmination of my wife's birthday, when she turned 40, I shouldn't say that. She's younger than 40. Of course she is. To when Coke finally purchased and that buyout happened, lots of runway, it just made sense. And so I left my job with Coca-Cola in February of 2023, and the rest is history. Here we are.
Well, if your wife is anything like I am, being a woman in her 40s, we're just more confident and more sure of who we are. So I doubt she's too concerned about.
She knows what she wants to drink. She's very versed.
There's a difference between the ladies in their 30s and 40s, but I digress. What's something people often misunderstand about the spirits or craft beverage industry?
It's not always about drinking cocktails, or I should say, it's not always about drinking alcohol. We say we drink to transform. And so essentially, if we're sharing a beverage, we're communing. Maybe we're having dinner, meeting up with a friend, and it's all about sharing that human experience. So the category, non-alcs, liquor, beer, beverage, wine, for me, ultimately, it's about getting together. And so it's not just drinking alcohol. There's a bigger experience at large and to be shared.
What's the mission or belief system that drives Spirits of Alchemy?
I suppose the mission, starting with the at-home bartender, that was the fruition of all of this, from that 40th birthday party to bringing it to people at large. And that mission is create a beautiful drink at home. You don't have to have all the ingredients. It's consistent. It tastes the same. And the product line itself, it's based on classic cocktails. The product has actually become a solution for bars and restaurants. We say behind the bar, where at quick serve places where sometimes your server is your bartender, they need a means and a way to get the drink out quickly, make it taste the same, if not across all servers, then across the chain or multiple locations. And so that founding principle has guided everything we've done. And then we're still here because the passion is evolving, innovating. You can always make a drink better. You can always make a drink different. So there's that exploration again, that experience. It's the category is not ending. It's just growing.
Chris, how would you say that your company reflects your personal values?
So it'll be cliche. We'll say authentic, real. And here's how I know that. I'm just as goofy as I am prior to this podcast, during the podcast, post podcast. The beauty of doing what I'm doing as my own employee, working with a team of trusted people, is that everyone's here after we've known each other, and there's no surprises. I'm a little goofy. That's the thread we weave. That's what makes this founder-led story so interesting. Is it started under the same pretense in which we're now executing. We wanted to have a good time. We wanted to bring friends together. Hopefully we're still having a good time. Hopefully I'm still a friend, and that's the path we'll continue on.
What kind of impact are you hoping to have both locally and beyond?
The local piece is great. That's where we started. We figured before we expand, because of course my head is Coca-Cola, go national. It's own your own woods, own your own neck of the woods. Oh, just own where you live. Let that background be your litmus test. Your audience will inform you. Hopefully it's a safe space, your neighborhood, your friends and local businesses, and they accept you as goofy as you are. The audience will inform you whether or not your product is any good. And so we knew starting here, if it didn't work, we would stop. And if it did work, we would continue to accelerate, grow, and then expand ultimately. That risk is just mitigating your audience as it grows from individual touch points to how do people interact with your brand outside of your neighborhood. And at that point, you're scaling and hopefully your messaging is consistent and the same people who started are hopefully still there.
There's definitely value in having friends and peers that have watched your journey
Right.
all along. In my case, at least, they call me when I'm
Yeah.
getting off track.
Yeah. Thank you.
But it's nice to have cheerleaders along the way too.
Yes, you must.
What's been one of the most significant pivots or reinventions you've had to make since you've launched?
Yes, this will be an easy one to answer. It's sad, but it was devastating, and we learned a lot. So our business partner, one of our core business partners, he passed this past Christmas, 2024, and he was a longtime mentor, 10+ years with myself. Going into this business, he was guru. He was a technical sales engineer. He understood math way better than I do, Excel spreadsheets, supply chain logistics, all those big words, which you just group into a bucket of it's not sales or marketing. So with his passing, other than doing massive searching within yourself, is this something I want to continue doing? Is there a legacy here? Am I doing this for the right reasons? And then if the answer was yes, holy smokes, am I the guy? Am I prepared to do this? Can I do this? And not stopping other than the adversity and the hurdles that came with this is learning that I was capable of doing more. It turns out I was paying attention. We were in the right place at the right time with the right people. So although he left, the company didn't stop. If anything, I'd say it's gotten stronger. There is certainly and always something we'll be doing for him. So that makes this bigger than us. That also keeps that whole authenticity, transparent, true North Star. That keeps us in check. So going through that changed everything, but kept us moving forward. We could have stopped at any point in time, but we didn't. We're still here.
How did your corporate experience help or hinder you in the early startup days?
I can do the hinder first. It hindered because my ideas were just as big as the corporate system. My job experience filled in a lot of those gaps. Sales, marketing, distributor side, brand development, brand execution, commercialization, blah, 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 blah. A lot of cool lists of corporate terms and acronyms. So that was the good part and the bad part. The bad part being is I came out of the gates going, oh, we're going to go national. We're going to go to chain. I know how all this works. I know how to call on buyers. So the experience lended itself to understanding what we needed to do. What I've learned since then, harnessing also some of those corporate values, working for yourself means it's important to take a step back because there's no one else telling you, but keeping you within the guidelines of how to grow a brand. And so it was a bit of a double-edged sword. One propelled me into the stage of confidence, and the other one slightly veered us off in the beginning away from some of our core executional values. Corporate showed us the channels to start, execute, and grow a brand. It was incumbent upon me to channel that to the people who are smarter than me in the room and allow the brand to be something first.
One of our previous guests, Jason Hall, who is also in North Carolina, said that he's not aware of a company when you're starting a brand new company. He's not aware of a company that's not going to expect you to be able to articulate your value.
Yes.
And sometimes when we come from bigger picture to come down to start a new project, it's important to remember that we have to be able to figure out what the value is and communicate that.
Absolutely.
Can you describe a challenge that has taught you something that you couldn't have learned any other way?
Supply chain. You really don't understand supply chain. Purchasing ingredients and also understanding the importance of a contingency plan. One of our products, it's a hibiscus habanero. We use real hibiscus and real jalapeno, real mash. That's awesome when you find that one company that creates the perfect mash. What's not awesome and unexpected is when that company is out of business, doesn't have any inventory, or turns out the product isn't as good as you thought it was. If you are not anticipating that, we didn't because it hadn't happened yet. That's almost a zero-sum game. You could just be done. We had a container of hibiscus habanero leaves that aren't going to be here till next month, and we needed to run. We found a secondary supplier, and now in the books we can say we have two hibiscus habanero suppliers. If one falls out, we can contact the other one. And that level of contingency, I do believe, big scale, big picture, is what makes the company more valuable. We won't fail because we only thought of one supplier. We thought of multiple, and that just makes us stronger.
That makes a lot of sense. You've constantly got to think about plan A, plan B, plan C. And sometimes as a business owner, you don't realize that until you fall on your face once. And then
Yes.
you're like, ooh, we can't do that
We shouldn't do that
again.
again. Avoid that. Indeed.
What role has relationship building played in your business's growth so far?
Everything. It is everything. People say it. This is a relationship business. Relationship from, let's go full circle, the 40th birthday party where people really enjoyed the drinks because they were our friends and family, to those who encouraged us, to those who questioned us. Those were all relationships. The relationships we've created either in that corporate world, which some were friends that I carried, some just remained mentors or business contacts that fortunately, because we left the door open because I'm always me, I'm Goofy Chris, it gave us privilege to go back to that well, have those discussions, and it's been a privilege. And so those relationships are just invaluable. Always check yourself. Keep that in mind. The relationships are priceless.
Has community support shown up for you in unexpected ways?
Yes, unexpected insofar as the amount of support once they've tried the product. We started in our neighborhood. It was very much a literally own your neighborhood, the shops, bars, and restaurants in and around the circumference. Great relationship, so everybody was willing to talk to us. So we've got two boxes checked. We know where we are. We know who to talk to. The surprise piece, are you as good as you think you are? Is the product as good as you think it was when you made it? What is it now? The surprise was everyone said yes. Heck yes. Heck, 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 yes. Continue to do this. How can we help? Or I need you to talk to this person. It always just comes full circle to that. Starting local. The surprise is where we have a viable product. People love it. They want to know if we're continuing to grow. And so that level of encouragement, also priceless.
Chris, when it comes to relationships, what advice would you give a new business owner about earning trust in a heavily saturated market?
Don't be afraid to contact anybody you think of. Let's go to LinkedIn. You have access to LinkedIn. More people will not know you than know you. So if you don't contact anybody, you're just back to where you started. If you find someone you'd like to contact, either someone you've known and haven't talked to in a while, or go big, find another owner of a company, because don't devalue your position. Okay, you're important too. That doesn't mean just because you started company doesn't make you any less valuable than the person's time in which you're trying to get. It's okay to look bigger than you are. Reach out to people that you might go, oh my gosh, am I allowed to? Absolutely, you are allowed to. They might not contact you back. Contact someone else. Punch above your weight. You're bigger than you think you are. You did this. There's something to celebrate. And so if there's insecurity there, that shouldn't stop you.
Insecurity comes with the job. You can be in business for 5 years, 10 years, almost 20 years, like myself. And there's still times like it just shows up.
Sure.
It's what we do with that. Do we let that stop us from chasing an opportunity? Or do we go out there and try it and admit I'm learning along the way? Like with this podcast. How do you lead differently now than when you were managing national teams in your past roles?
In past roles, I always worked for somebody else. You could always lean into what were somebody else's plans? What's the benchmark that was given to me, even if you're collaborating? So it's twofold. One, you work for yourself, but you also work for the company in which you created. You got to create some distance there. There should be other people in the room that know more. Those should be your partners, hopefully, and you get to listen to them. So in the corporate world, maybe you thought you were all that in a bag of chips. Maybe that's why you left, to go do your own thing. But that luxury doesn't exist when you're doing your own business. It just shouldn't. Unless you start with millions of dollars, you've got to listen to the people around you and understand that you are, yes, the cornerstone of this company. And maybe you get to make the final decisions, but that just means it's more important to listen to people around you and allow them to give you your own goals. Maybe that'll change your mission or your values, hopefully enhance them. And corporate doesn't provide that environment. That's just not the basis of why it exists. You always work for someone else.
What do you think makes a great team member in a small business setting?
What makes a great team member? Hopefully the same reasons you're having that team member. And I'm a team member as well. You have an expertise that someone else doesn't have, and hopefully in a complementary way. I know very little about the formal framework of marketing. I am creative. That isn't marketing at large. Sales isn't just, hey, would you like to buy my product? There's nuance there. So one of our business partners, Arthur Elliott Marketing Group, a local marketing group, they're our local marketing group. They are a partner of our company because they are experts in that field. Certainly when you're small and big as well, be bringing entities or people in those relationships you've kept that enhance you or bring in something that you're just not good at. Maybe it's a weakness and they have that as a strength.
It sounds like we're going back to the concept of getting the right people on the bus.
Yes, yes. Yeah, right bus, right people.
Yes. What is one leadership lesson that you wish you had learned sooner?
I'll say supply chain. It's not necessarily to say that I had the opportunity to work in supply chain, but I could have interfaced with them more. I wish I was hungry for that portion of the business because it was all sales, dabbling in marketing, but on the brand side, on the distributor side, never on the logistics side. I wish I would have dug into that earlier. It's not paramount, but it would have overcome a lot of these early learning curves. Like, oops, we don't have hibiscus leaves. We would have thought of that like months ago. That would have been nice.
What does success look like for you 3 years from now? Or further out, whatever your
But
long vision is.
honestly, it's a sustainable living. If we are able to do what we're passionate about, which is this mixology world as the basis and forming relationships and sharing experiences, if we can continue to do that. And yes, it's for profit. So I'd like to be able to live. I haven't collected a paycheck in 2.5 years, which wouldn't it be great if I could start paying myself back? Debt is interesting and debt mitigation, but keeping it is not the idea. So that short term, long term, pay myself, experience that reward other than just the joy of doing it. Move a little farther out, have a nationally known brand, a brand that not only is an alcohol-free mixer, but something bigger than itself. In the same way you might say Red Bull and you think of energy drinks or NASCAR or Formula One, you think of other things other than a mixer when you say Spirits of Alchemy. To achieve those two, that's a win. That's the win.
Well, as you're thinking about scaling, what's most important to preserve about your brand and culture?
I'd say myself, our business partners as well. We have to stay here. We're the culture, no matter how you cut it. It's, you ever made a sandwich without the bread? You could put different bread on there, but let's just look at the Reuben. You have to have marbled rye. Use sourdough. Okay. So I'm the marbled rye. And I don't mean that from a place of bragging. I just mean I'm the marbled rye, darn it.
Well, literally, my spouse would agree with you
Yeah.
because living in the South and they're from
Awesome.
Pittsburgh area,
Yeah.
I often hear about the rye versus the marbled rye.
It's so important to not just the bread, but to keep the founding members. We're the North Star. And wouldn't it be great if we're here the whole time through that scale, through that nationally known brand, to who knows if there was a buyout or some entertainment of a macro partner like a Coca-Cola? We stay there. We are the culture. We're the beginning team. We're the first teammates.
Thinking about growth and thinking about hiring, what types of benefits do you imagine being important for your future team?
I would say the shared mission and values. The mission and values always sound sort of vague. Are we enjoying each other's company? I know that sounds so base, but part of the reason I didn't want to be in the corporate world, other than the hundreds of people I didn't know, were the dozens I did. We were forced to work together. Obviously, you wanted to work together, but wouldn't it be a great place if you could work with your friends? Maybe not family. That can always be a little world. With your friends. So that relationship piece, the pairing of like-minded individuals, we're enjoying what we're doing when we're doing it. We're thinking ahead. We've got that same mindset, share of mind, and we're always bringing some new or fun ideas to the table. That's, to me, that's the cornerstone of that question.
Have you learned about protecting your business from revenue disruptions and from a personal well-being standpoint?
I mean, I could say I've disrupted revenue as in I don't have any personal revenue. We disrupted that.
I have a book recommendation for you for that.
I've managed that very effectively. And that the piece, the yin and the yang is your partner, your significant other, or your children, or your other family members who are need revenue to live. So as exciting as this is, and I love it, I've done all the ups and the downs. As exciting as this is, if my family life isn't in check, likely my mental life isn't in check. And that mental life can also waffle on the business side as well, which affects your family life. So for me, my bubble of my wife, my two girls, we all have to continue to wake up, have breakfast, move throughout our day, and there has to be some grounding there. If we continue to eat our meals together, hopefully listen to each other. Of course, my girls always eat their vegetables. They listen to me. That's mentally, that's stable, that's fulfilling. And if you need to, throw a therapist in there as well. I have two, because there's nothing like getting a professional opinion and feedback outside of your own bubble. Hopefully, we always have a good idea of where we're coming from, a gut check. But you're also in your own silo with you and your family. So if there's a friend or a professional you can also get an opinion on, that just means you're self-aware. It should mean you're progressing nicely and keeping your inner mind, your inner self intact and healthy.
If you could wave a magic wand and solve one behind the scenes challenge, what would it be? And I'm going to go ahead and say you're not allowed to say supply chain.
I was like, do I need to do that again? I won't do that.
I want to hear about something
Something else,
else,
please.
Chris.
Something else. Leaves, different leaves. This would probably leapfrog into something I would also tell myself in an earlier period of my life, but it's very much behind the scenes. Is that you are stronger than you think you are, and going into this. If I could have told Coca-Cola, hey, I'm going to leave and start my own company, can I talk to you about that before I go and do that? That'd be really awesome. And then you could give me the lessons that maybe would give me a heads up. That mental piece, that's everything. If I could go back and lay a few more ground rules to accept when you're angry, that's okay. That doesn't mean you need to stop. That's a day by day thing. To also accept any win, even small wins. It's a win. You made it to the Olympics. You might not get a gold medal. You might not podium, but there's something to be celebrated about even starting this. Mentally, I would have laid a stronger foundation. And however the individual achieves that, if it's self-help, that whole friends and family piece, but it doesn't have to be supply chain. It's also the mind. Establish a strong sense of self, and then go burn all your money.
Our team, obviously being an insurance agency, we're all salespeople. So solving that mental thing is probably one of the biggest hurdles my team faces. Getting really clear on why you're doing this so you show up and do it on the mornings you don't want to do it. And there are mornings you don't want to do it, but you still got to show up.
Absolutely.
You already talked to your younger version of yourself. That was actually my next
I
question.
would add something to I love that question. I'll add a piece to that, which is important for me. Let's go back to the younger self and we'll put all that beautiful mental foundation in place. The piece I would also say to myself, it's somewhere between don't be afraid and you're going to do it anyway, which isn't a demand, but recognize that my DNA way before 2009, when this started bubbling into small companies and small business ideas, I was always going to do this. Maybe the timing would have changed, but I was going to be in this position regardless, and that's okay. And so everything that happens in between there, it's okay. And like you just said, you keep going even when you don't want to. Finish the drill.
Things worked out exactly the way they're supposed to because you are where you are.
That
Maybe we should look back and go, what can we learn from something that frustrated us?
absolutely.
But it worked out the way it was supposed to, because if it wasn't supposed to be that way, you wouldn't be right here.
And that's a good thing.
What would you tell somebody who's thinking about that? They've been feeling that tug toward a business idea. What would you tell them?
Toe dip as much as possible. There's no rush to do this. There's no shortage of opportunities or cliffs to jump off of. Yes, you can always quit your job and try something else, but maybe you don't do that first. Toe dip. And the toe dip could be as simple as, for us, making those first few syrups. And did we enjoy making them? We didn't know we were going to be a company. And as we got closer to this could be a company, let's continue to toe dip. Throw a few more parties. Have a few more people try your product. Get beyond the point where everyone's telling you, is this such a great idea? You should go do it. Have some sales. And I know that might be harder to achieve than not. In a consumer packaged good, it's easy because it's a physical product. So make a bunch of those physical products. You can have a great design intent and create an inferior product, but it still gets something into the physical world. So I call that the toe dip. Just Try something just a little bit. Go take a course. I do need that book on revenue disruption. Get a book, talk to an expert, become your own best resource, and never stop asking questions to like anybody around you, kids included. Am I crazy? Hopefully the answer is no.
The book, I'll go ahead and name it here so that our listeners can check it out, especially if you're getting ready to start a business, is called Profit First, and it's by Mike McAllowitz. And when I implemented that into my system after years of not being able to take a paycheck, that's no longer a concern. I make sure that there's money there for a paycheck. But on the note of a book or a podcast or a YouTube channel, what is a recommendation you would make that our listeners check out?
Yeah, so the first answer is going to be selfish. There's a book called Round Building. I'll just go ahead and finish that one since I said it. The book Round Building is about the order in which to make drinks, which can be very relevant if you're delivering multiples. It's important to know where to stop, start, and finish. It's kind of like making a sandwich on an assembly line. That's super important. Stoicism. Books on Stoicism. Stoicism, in its most simplistic form, is identifying those things which you can change, those things which you cannot, and primarily, it's yourself. It's the internal change, not those outside of you. And Stoicism and that basic foundation of change yourself, and there's so many principles that go behind that, gives you a little bit more empowerment in determining what your path forward looks like. And I think with the money book as well, we're looking for some empowerment, some form of freedom outside of ourselves. And for me, Stoicism, that was a new operating system.
If our listeners wanted to connect with you and try your products, tell us more about where to find you and where to find Spirits of Alchemy.
You can find us on our homepage at drinkspiritsofalchemy.com. Each one of our products has its what we call a vibe page, 2 Spotify channels, a video, and a ton of recipes. So you're going to interact with the brand before you interact with us, which is cool. That feels less salesy and more like the experience we're trying to get to. Contacting me is a great way, Chris at Drink Spirits of Alchemy. I love the consumer feedback. We've got my contact information on all of the bottles. That feedback, as it started in our friends and family, my wife's 40th birthday party, the neighborhood, some of my corporate connections, all came from that feedback. So any inputs, any new information, social media within that world and those inputs, it's just at Drink Spirits of Alchemy or hashtag Drink Spirits of Alchemy. Basically, Google Drink Spirits of Alchemy.
Do you have any final parting words for our listeners today?
Yes, it's okay to fail. In fact, failure's great. Now, what you do with it, that's that beautiful Stoicism piece. That's that second step. That's kind of on you. But that first step, failure's awesome because that signifies a few things. You tried something. You had an idea. You toe dipped. You attempted. It didn't work out. You get to ask yourself, why didn't it work out? That's a springboard for more or to stop. That's fantastic. So fail sounds like a one-dimensional word, but it's a 4D game. That's the macro. You fail to succeed. That feels like a book title. If it's not, I'll write that one. You fail to succeed.
I agree. I think failing is an opportunity to learn. And whether you choose to learn, that goes to your Stoicism thing. That's a choice.
Absolutely.
But failure, especially in business as you're trying to grow, if you're not failing, then you're not playing big enough, honestly. So,
Agreed. Agreed.
and I'll thank my business coach for that because I had a different viewpoint on that 10 years ago.
That's fantastic. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.